This past week, I made a visit to Tahoma National Cemetery ahead of the Memorial Day holiday. As I walked along rows of markers bearing the names of service members who've passed on, one of them in particular caught my eye. That one to the right with the bright pink Post-it note. The note reads, "Love you, Dad." But as I took a closer look, it was the inscription that really stuck with me. More than a name on a wall. I immediately wanted to learn more about the man behind the name on that wall. I posted the picture of his marker, and within minutes, a friend of his reached out. And this is what I learned. Steve Bordash passed away in March at age 70. He spent his life serving others. First drafted to the Army as a young man, he stood guard along the demilitarized zone in Korea. He then spent 30 years in law enforcement with the Kalama, Sunnyside, and Auburn police departments, then later the Federal Marshal Service. He was an avid Seahawks fan. He liked old school country music and riding his Harley. He always had an American flag proudly displayed in his front yard. Steve Bordash was no doubt more than just a name on a wall. He and so many others. In fact, when I posted that picture of his marker, I got another response. Just 5 markers over rests J. Allen Chu. His son spotted his name. This is a picture of the two of them. J. Allen Chu enlisted in the United States Navy in 1961 at the age of 18. He deployed to the Pacific as a third-class radarman, honorably discharged in 1965. He spent the last 3 decades of his life living in Washington State, and the last 24 years of his life battling Parkinson's. Still, his son told me even through some of the hardest times, he always kept a positive outlook and welcomed anybody into his life with an open heart. And I heard from even more of you with loved ones at Tahoma National Cemetery. Michelle sent me this, the marker bearing the name of her father, Roger Allen Brunk. Here he is with his wife, Deanna. They were married for 44 years. Roger's kids describe him as a wonderful father and a true patriot, a good old country boy whose travels with the service took him further than he ever would have dreamed. A beautiful singer with a voice like Johnny Cash who became somewhat of a celeb at his local karaoke bar in Puyallup. Then Jen Roy sent me this picture of her mom's marker at Tahoma. Laura Jean Roy went to Franklin Pierce High School in Tacoma, then later joined the United States Air Force. She was in one of the first groups of women aircraft mechanics. She raised 3 children, had 4 grandchildren, and she was, according to her family, the kindest person you'd ever hope to meet. And there's Robert Cantrell. He served as a radio operator during the Korean War in the United States Air Force. His son Dale says he was a colorful man of great wisdom. Dennis Frankham served in the U.S. Army, the Marine Corps, and the Air Force. His nephew Brad says he went on to live and raise a family in Renton and had a long career with Boeing as a machinist. William Waits is also at Tahoma. His dad signed him up for the Navy when he was 17. He served in the Atlantic and the Pacific after Pearl Harbor and later worked for the Forest Service and Boeing. His son Wesley tells me his dad loved this country and was willing to defend it. Nick's mom, Shirley Tebow, is also at Tahoma. Shirley worked naval intelligence in the 1950s and later in life became Shirley Tebow, the famous psychic. She appeared on TV and wrote newspaper columns, an interesting woman, to be sure. Each of them the story of someone who served our country. Each of them someone who deserves a tremendous amount of gratitude for that service. And each of them far more than just a name on a wall.